Black Eyed Peas and Where's the Love on 1FM 91.3 right here on the Morning Drive every weekday with the Flying Dutchman and Carrie Chong. So today in the studio we got Sarah Stanley from the Straits Times. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's been a while.
It has. So glad to be back.
Yeah. She's of course here to tell us all about extreme heat conditions and whether or not it's affecting travel or travelers.
Yeah, you know, we all know how hot it is nowadays. I mean, it's getting worse and worse. I just came back from Penang. It felt like it was 43. But, I mean, how bad is it in places where Singaporeans like going to? I mean, how bad is it, for example, say in Europe?
Okay, so Europe is a great example because they're going through a heat wave.
Yeah.
So last year was recorded, 2024 was the hottest year on record. And this year we're breaking those records. So I think it goes to say a lot about how hot the planet's heating up on. We're looking at places like Portugal going up to 47 degrees Celsius.
Oh!
Yeah, that's the hottest ever recorded in mainland Portugal during June. That's just insane. Imagine boiling, in this temperature. And our boiling temperature is 37. So you imagine how much hotter that is. Also, Norway is 32.5. Norway's Bannock
Norway?
Station.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So that's, you're looking at European Arctic, right? Never before, that's right. But not just in Europe, right? We're looking at Asia, places that Singaporeans like to go to, China, Japan. These places are recording highs of 38, 39, up to 42 sometimes. Yeah, which is, I think, unprecedented.
So, I mean, how what is it? What do we do? I mean, what do we? We go travel and just consume water and visit the toilet every 10 minutes.
There are ways, especially in Japan. They're very innovative, right? Creative with the ways to cool themselves down. They have cooling wipes.
Yes.
They have like a jacket with built-in fans.
Yes. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Even like shirts, they're trying to put the fan at the back of the nape of your neck. Yeah, those are interesting.
So tips to cool down. We'll talk about that in a while. But let's talk about travel bookings. Despite the scorching heat, right? It's not really slowed down. You spoke to travel operators.
Yeah.
Singaporeans travel regardless of what the weather looks like. Or is it because we're used to the heat ourselves?
We just
so
like
we don't mind it
we
so
like
much.
torturing ourselves.
I mean, that's one way to think about it. But also, I guess tour operators are saying that, Singaporeans are used to the heat. We're used to the humidity of tropical climate. So we don't really think about it as a deterrent when we travel, which I think maybe doesn't work too well for us because when we go overseas, we take for granted accessibility, sheltered walkways.
Yes.
I mean, like I do it too. I think if we travel to Korea or Japan, sometimes there's so many stairs at all these train stations, right? And not many elevators or whatever. So I think we take for granted that. But also I think as a society, right, we've only been able, especially parents, to travel in June and December. Right? Yeah, so June is like summer peak period. Everybody's like, okay, now we have 4 weeks to choose, when our kids can go overseas.
Correct.
Let's go a bit further. Let's go to Europe. And then Europe is suffering a heat wave. So I think, it's sad as a society that we've only got this time to travel and we just have to make the most of it. So partially it's yes, we're used to the heat, but also it's only the amount of time that we have.
Okay, we're going to go on Facebook right now and continue this conversation with Sarah. Join us there. The other thing is, I think, right, being as kiasu as we are, we're like, no, I've got friends who tell me, hey, you want to go Europe, right? Must go summer because daylight's long, the sun is up early and then you get so much more money for your buck, right? And bang for your buck. Is that the reason as well?
Yeah, so I just spoke to somebody who I know is in Europe and she was saying like they travel there because they know the daylight hours are long, but now it's a double-edged sword because when you go then the daylight hours long means you spend more time under the sun, right? And she's in Sardinia, which is also experiencing a crazy heat wave. Yeah, so she's saying that people are still on the beach and everything, but the moment you like switch off for a minute and you forget that the sun is that hot, right? You start burning up and you only realize it when you get back to the hotel room and your back is sunburnt and you feel the effects of tightness of skin and all that. Yeah, so she's still going and it's still maybe the kiasu mentality, like I need longer daylight hours. I'm paying a premium to go to Europe, I better make sure every dollar counts, right?
I can see more of the place.
Correct. So yes, there is that mentality.
It's true, because Carrie was asking me earlier, like, would I travel in summer? I would if I'm going to the beach.
Yes, exactly.
If I'm going to do Sardinia, if I'm going to do Tenerife or somewhere like that, I would go in summer. Because spring, autumn, winter, is it pointless to go to these places?
No, but then it gets too hot. I mean, previously we thought of summer in Europe as July, August. August like the peak, right?
Yep.
But now, even in June, there are travelers who say it's unbearable because of global warming and all that.
Yes,
so it is a real issue. Our planet's heating up.
So what tips do you have to help us manage this heat? I mean, whether we're talking about being at home or whether we're traveling.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3, and then I have like 5 in an article, but let me give you 3. One is, don't just check the temperature, also check the humidity levels. So we have it on our phone from time to time. You see like 70%, but we don't really know what those numbers mean, right?
Yeah.
Or how it translates. There is a temperature humidity index that people can reference, and it's online. I'll give you an example of what that might mean. If the temperature, for example, in a place, let's be conservative and say 34 during summer, right? And then the relative humidity is, let's say, 70. In Singapore, it's 80 to 90 throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
So let's say 70 in summer. And then what you might actually feel at 34 and 70 is 47 degrees. Your body feels it at 70 degrees. And that's like in the dangerous zone for sure, right? Yeah, so when we register it's like 34 degrees, we might be, Singapore's so hot. 34 degrees is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the humidity, it changes by a lot. It goes up to 52 at 80% humidity. So instead of, so it just keeps going up. Basically, plan your travels around this temperature humidity index.
So temperature humidity index.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just keeps going up. Basically, there's a whole, the chart splits into like yellow, orange, and red. And you know, when you hit the red and it's like 49 and above, you're bound to like be at increased risk of heat stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be a problem. And we always plan around that absolute number of 34, for example, or 30, right? But the humidity changes it, basically. So that's one tip. Should I go on?
Oh, yes,
please.
Please.
Okay, so another thing that might be a bit further from dehydration or like heat-related injury is travel healthcare. I think maybe when you go for short trips, right, we feel like sometimes you feel like today still need travel insurance, you know. But with the heat, it's more likely that you're susceptible to such like heat stroke, heat-related injury. So I spoke to a family physician and he said like it might not look so obvious to you to get your pre-travel vaccinations, but you should, because if your body is already fighting a flu overseas and then you're dehydrated, imagine that type of healthcare you need basically if you don't get the vaccination before.
Right.
So do that travel healthcare, do cover pre-existing conditions if you already suffer from certain issues like asthma. Right? And then go for your vaccinations. And if I'm not wrong, you probably want to call like about 2 weeks beforehand to see if they have those vaccinations at your clinics. Especially if you're covered by a company, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people go in like droves of people during June holidays.
Yeah, then you can't get it in time.
And then you can't get it
trip.
in time, correct. And you are supposed to get it about 2 weeks before anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's your pre-planning. And do we have time for one more?
Yes,
definitely.
Okay, great. And then the last one is not to be to have that power through mentality, which we might know as kiasu mentality, right? You book all your things for one day and then you decide you have to go in chong. Yeah, so doctor said it's okay to cancel 1 or 2 because the attractions will still be there. But will your health be in that same condition if you chong and power through? So split it up. Go morning and evenings if you know you're traveling in summer period. Plan for early mornings. Plan for late evening activities. Let your body acclimatize to the temperature and all that. And then start going for more physically strenuous activities.
Yeah, because it's not wise to actually pack everything. You will need to take the breaks, right?
Yes.
It'll be so hot, you'll be dashing in and out of like cafes, you know, just to get a drink.
Just to cool off.
Yeah, exactly. So you won't be able to hit as many of these sites
and
that you want to.
And it's not fun, to feel like heat exhaustion after walking through 37, 38 degrees.
Yeah. What about packing?
Yeah.
How do we pack? I mean, I know Singaporeans are just like flip-flops, t-shirt,
Yeah,
shorts and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that. But is that all there is when it comes to packing for summer?
Yeah, okay, so you
holidays?
should look at the material you're wearing, obviously, right?
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
at lighter
yeah.
materials, linens and cottons and what have you.
Yeah.
But these days, there's a lot of like UV protection type materials. And I think Japan is very big on that. UV protection umbrellas, UV protection like long sleeves. So I think it's like a bit of choosing your materials and also knowing how much UV protection you should have. Sunblock is a big thing. I don't know if it's just an Asian thing that we look at wearing sunblock all the time, like face body and all that. But bring a good sunblock along. Make sure you have like, I guess, portable fans. Pack your portable fans.
Okay,
I know.
Yeah.
I succumed.
Do you really?
I bought one of those little
Jisoo Life, is
I've
it?
got it in my bag.
Wait, so yours is a handheld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you don't have the neck fan.
Hey,
I
people-
do.
Oh, no.
I do.
I refuse to wear one of those.
How
I
bad is
refuse
that?
also. This is so uncool.
I don't know. I think it's accessorizing. Like people don't want to accessorize with
No,
that.
but it's
A bit
really good.
obiang, you know.
I know,
like-
but it's so good. It keeps you cool.
It does, it does. I see people put the freezer sticks, you know, those
Yes.
cold
Yes.
freezer sticks. I guess those work too in extreme heat. You might want to
Yeah.
just go that
Yeah,
route.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a portable fan too. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Okay.
You have to have one. I
Yeah,
think in this
you-
heat,
you
yeah,
need
I
it,
don't.
yeah.
I don't. You know, maybe I will. If,
I lend you mine.
no thanks. I want my Hello Kitty. Thanks.
Oh, what the?
Must what?
Oh my gosh.
If you're gonna be carrying these obiang things, it has to at least look cute,
Obiang
Oh, is
right?
it a bit? Yeah, it has to be a bit trendy, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
not the boring
guess.
old like grey tone or beigey types.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so packing and what else
Yeah.
should we be mindful of? Like when we're traveling to these places, especially if you booked a trip for July, August, right? And it's going to be hot. Like in terms of hydration,
Yeah.
packing your clothes and all that.
Yep. Okay. So hydration is interesting because I think we take for granted when we don't bring a bottle overseas that it'll be like readily available at some 7-Eleven or whatever. Sometimes it's not the case, especially if you are on tour, for example,
Yeah.
right? And then you're going to some mountain or whatever. So bring a bottle. I know it's like very common sense, right, to bring a bottle, but bring it and make sure that you drink at least half an hour before you leave your accommodation. So that was recommended by this nutrition scientist that I talked to. He said drink at least a full glass of water at least 30 minutes before stepping out of your accommodation, and then bring a bottle and a dry towel because. Okay, so I didn't know this, but now I do. If you sweat and you don't wipe it, actually your body is not releasing heat as efficiently. But if you continuously wipe the sweat, right, then your body releases more sweat and you're cooling down more efficiently. So if you don't wipe
Lord.
that sweat, it's basically stuck on your skin. It's clinging to it, especially when humidity is high. Right?
I never knew that.
I never knew that because I just
too.
let my sweat air dry.
Yeah, same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But when the humidity is high, it's less likely that your sweat is going to evaporate so fast, right? In dry weather, it's going to be like, quick, like it's wicking, right? It'll
Yeah.
evaporate quickly.
Okay, hold that thought.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go back on air right now. Towns and Twins here on 1FM 91.3. King for a Day on 1FM 91.3. Okay, so we're talking to Sarah Stanley
Yep.
from the Straits Times about combating like heat during a holiday, and you were telling us something very interesting.
Yeah, about perspiration.
Yep.
Yes, okay. So we know that sweat's a way for your body to release heat, right? That's
Right.
why we keep sweating when we're in like really hot tropical climates. But also if you don't wipe your sweat, basically it sticks to your skin and it makes it less efficient for your body to remove this heat. So maybe you might want to think about packing a towel, a dry towel next time, so that you can keep wiping that so that your body can release heat more often.
Another one of those auntie things.
Yeah,
I never
know.
knew this.
I know, but imagine like, okay, my grandma used to carry on a handkerchief all the time. You know, and we don't do that anymore. And I used to think, wow, very like, I'm such an auntie. older
At
person.
least handkerchief. My grandmother used to
Handkerchief.
carry the good morning towel around.
So maybe she was in on this.
She was
She
smart.
knew.
She
you
was
know.
smart.
She knew. So maybe that's what we should be doing. You know,
Yeah.
we should be looking at age-old ways. of
Yeah.
saving
Here's the
heat.
thing, right? My husband's like, I don't want
Yeah.
to drink so much water because I have to go toilet all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're traveling, it's hard to find a
That's
toilet that's
true.
accessible.
Okay, but
so
that-
you don't drink as much.
No, but
then,
that
like,
may be your
backfires.
That may be your husband's. Like when we were in Penang, right?
Yeah.
The temperatures were ridiculous.
Yeah.
They weren't. They were 34, but they felt like
Still,
39.
Yeah, check the
So
humidity.
we were drinking water.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no, like it was going out of style.
Yeah.
But we weren't going to the toilet.
Oh.
Because we were sweating it all out.
Is that how it works?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
I'm
know.
assuming.
I think so.
I'm assuming that's how it works.
Okay.
Because it didn't make us rush to the toilet.
Right.
But we were sweating buckets.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's how it works.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but
Maybe
maybe-
psychologically, that's
Maybe,
what we
maybe,
think. Yeah.
maybe.
So regardless, okay, you have to hydrate.
Yeah, of course
Yeah,
you do.
you have
Yes,
to.
you have to drink water, and I mean, you have to remove sweat from your skin, lah. That's the.
Have you tried
interesting
these
thing.
gadgets though? The one with the
Right.
built-in fan and all that.
Yeah.
Which ones work and which don't?
Yeah, okay, I don't know which don't lah, but which works for me is definitely portable fans. I mean, I live by in Singapore already, so I can't imagine not having it in places where it's 38 degrees. I've also actually tried those freezer sticks, the ones that you put on your neck, you put in the freezer, then you
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Okay, but those maybe don't work for me because I don't like the feeling of those things dripping like
Yeah.
down my neck and my shoulders. Yeah, so it does keep you cool for a short moment, and then after that, where do I keep it, right? And you wrap it in the towel and put my bag or whatever. So it doesn't really help for me when I'm like practically it doesn't really help.
Yeah.
But what I do find interesting, which we mentioned just now, right? It's those with like built-in fans in your blazers or in your
Yeah,
shirts.
yeah.
I want to try those. I'm scared my hair will get caught in that. But yeah, I think those are interesting. You can help. What do you use?
I saw the other day, I think it was on Facebook,
Yeah.
where you wear a wicking shirt,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you're going for meetings, you're traveling from one building to another,
Yeah.
right? So the wicking shirt. Your jacket is wicking, so it wicks and then wicks again.
Wow.
It's a double wick.
wicking.
Double wick.
So
yeah.
your shirt dries off real quick,
Yeah.
and your jacket helps to
Yeah,
disperse
yeah.
that liquid. It's really interesting. It's an interesting system.
material these days.
Wait, summer and you wear jacket. You're crazy or what?
There are some
Business
people who do
traveler.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are some
business
people who don't have a
traveler.
choice.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe especially in places like Japan and South Korea.
I would think
right?
so, yeah, when they travel for work.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one last question: will we
Sure.
see a shift, in travel destinations? With the summer weather heating up like this.
Okay, so because we've seen it as the hottest year on record in 2024, I think last year it registered, maybe it clicked a bit more that it's getting hotter. This year, when it got even hotter, I think it clicked twice as fast that during summer, we probably got to check ourselves on whether we want to go somewhere nearby where it's really hot or somewhere further. There have been publications that already reported changes in their traveler behavior where they choose to travel and how they're shifting their itineraries to planning around the midday instead of going out when the sun is, in the middle of the sky. In Asia, though, I've spoken to some travel operators, like tour operators, and they say like places in like Denmark or the Nordics, right? Or like Copenhagen, for example. They're getting a bit more popular, as are Sri Lanka, for example, and Hokkaido, because it's a lot, it's colder in the summer despite the fact that it's, hot in the cities.
Yeah.
So these places are getting more popular. I think people will plan around those. I think people will gravitate a bit more to like snow destinations during the summer travel season.
Yep.
Australia probably will be a bit more popular when it comes to heat, hot seasons. So I think those will come in time to come, but there's already like minor shifts here
Yeah.
and there. We just have to, watch as Singaporeans how much we can tolerate the heat before it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then get in all those tips on what you should be doing when planning for a summer holiday. Those two articles actually coming out this afternoon
Yes.
online. All right. Thank you very much, Sarah Stanley from the Straits Times, joining us here once again on 1FM.
Getting you on your way. The Flying Dutchman and Carrie Chong on the Morning Drive. 1FM 91.9.